So I'm Philip Grindell. I'm the CEO and founder of Defuse. We're a threat and intelligence consultancy. My background more recently was I was a senior police officer in the Metropolitan Police. And the relevant bit, I guess, is that when Joe Cox, the MP, was murdered, I was the person that was brought in to set up and run a team in Parliament to protect MPs from threats, intimidation, abuse, etc., and effectively stop the next attack. So we blend psychology with intelligence to prevent and then mitigate any threats or abuse or intimidation towards our clients. And the reason we do that is that intelligence is effectively data, and the psychology makes sense of that data. So because we're dealing with people and the threats that people make, be they stalking, be they harassment or threats online or other types of threats, every person is different. And so when people talk about stalking, as an example, people generally don't understand there are, half a dozen different types of stalkers, and they will all behave differently, and they'll all pose different threats to different people. So what we do is we profile the people that are actually making the threat or that are targeting our clients, so that we can provide a very bespoke, tailored response to the client to enable them effectively, not just to be safe, but actually to feel safe as well. Undercover policing operations are hugely complex pieces of work. I mean, first and foremost, one of the key elements is really understanding what your outcome is. And then really being able to articulate why you're going to be choosing a particular strategy of either having an undercover informant giving you information or putting a police officer into an undercover environment. Why are you using that particular tactic? Because it's hugely high risk. So then you have to be able to be really flexible with your decision making, because you can make certain decisions which have to be recorded. So you have to record your decisions, but also record your justification for those decisions. So why did I make that decision? And it's very much about, what did I know at that specific moment? So if the following morning or an hour later, the information or the intelligence changes, you have to be flexible enough to change your decision making. So you have to be flexible. You have to know what your outcome is. You have to understand and manage all the various risks, because you've got the obvious physical risks to those involved, the undercover officer, the person providing information. But then also you've got huge reputational issues. If this operation goes horribly wrong, what's the reputation to the Metropolitan Police going to look like? What's the reputation to the community? Because there has been incidences historically where an undercover operation has gone wrong and it's increased violence in the community. So you need to be able to factor all those elements into it. It's very complex, and it's you have to be patient. It doesn't happen overnight. You don't get results. It's not like a TV. It takes weeks, months, sometimes years to get the result you want. And sometimes you're collecting evidence, and other times you're collecting intelligence. So it's, again, how do you process that? How does it fit into the bigger picture? But doing it all in a hugely confidential environment where in many cases it's need to know only. So if you're not part of that operation, you won't know it's going on. And even if you are part of the operation, you'll only probably know the bit that's relevant to you. For me, the number one thing is integrity, and it's a word that that kind of frustrates me in a way, because I think it gets bandied about very liberally. But for me, it's kind of underpins everything that we do, because for me, it's about not just honesty, but doing the right thing at the right time. So I, for instance, will never, ever recommend to a client anything they don't need. Our purpose isn't to make money. Our purpose is to keep our clients safe. So if our clients don't need something, we're not going to recommend it. And that causes friction at times when we're working with partners who have a different agenda, and what they're trying to do is increase their sales, etc. And they want us to recommend things that the client doesn't need. So that's, for me, that's my number one thing around integrity. But that also means that confidentiality. Very often we're dealing with people that are in the public eye. And so, that people are always interested in the kind of gossip behind it. But of course, that's not something we ever talk about. We never mention who we're working with unless the client mentions it. So integrity, confidence, and also excellence in terms of the level of service that we provide is unparalleled. The level of expertise that the people that we work with have. So myself, a very unique background in terms of the parliamentary scenario. One of my business partners is one of the world's experts on stalking. What Lorraine doesn't know about stalking isn't worth knowing. One of our special advisors was the guy that pretty much invented the research in all this. So whenever there was a death threat against a US president, he was the only person that could sign it off. So the level of expertise we're using is absolutely top drawer. Our research and analytical teams are all people who work for British intelligence services. So again, the level of expertise, and that's what our clients expect, and that's what we want to deliver. So that when we provide a product or a service, we know that we're doing that level of service is unbeatable.